Close the door. guys, I shot some sealer and I reduced it about 10%, and I could still see some rings around where I went through the metal. So instead of just putting my base and clear on and seeing imperfections later, I'm going to go over it one more time with some epoxy. But this time I didn't add any reducer. No reducer. So it's straight up epoxy. And I'll put on one thick coat. And that way I'll let it dry for a day or two. And then I'll wet sand that flat. And then I'll paint it. That way I'm for sure that this thing's nice and flat and got no imperfections. Alright, so this thing's almost dry already. So I'm going to let it dry for a couple days, 1 or 2 days. And I'm going to go over it with 400, maybe 600 grit. And then I'll paint it because this thing wasn't looking too good. The primer I had put on before was like, it was like last summer, so it had been sitting in the weather, in the sun, and the UV breaks down the primers really bad. I should have shot epoxy on it, but I used poly primer, so that stuff is it's like slick sand. It's kind of like a filler type primer. But I think it'll be okay to block this out with some 600. And then if I burn through it, then I'll just seal it one more time before I paint it in a few days. Bummer that I gotta wait. I was hoping to get these painted, but it happens. It's best just to, if you see some imperfections in your sealer, just say, you know, I better wait and rework it and get it perfect, or deal with the imperfections in your paint later, and I didn't want to deal with it. So alright, since I gotta wait a few days on the fenders for the epoxy to dry and for me to do the body work sanding on it, I'm starting to work on my bumper. I added a little more filler here because this spoiler kind of gets a little skinny on the end, so I want to extend it out a little bit farther. That's why I'm putting filler there on both sides. So it's got a little filler too, just to kind of widen up this line here. And I started blocking this primer that I primered this last summer, I believe. So I'm starting to block it out, put some tape there to make the line nice and crisp. And yeah, it's almost there. I might primer it one more time because of the filler spots. I could probably spot prime it in those spots. I gotta put some more primer here, and this side, and a little bit on the edge. And probably I'm gonna have to put some here because I'll have to work on that little piece that I glassed in. But it's nighttime now, so I'm kind of take a break, work on this again tomorrow. And then I got the 2-3 season bumper here too that I'm working on. Got to get that sanded down and re-primered one more time. But that's it for today. Tomorrow's another day.